Do you have annoying string algae like this? They just get stuck and trapped in everything and make catching shrimp extremely hard. Well, today I'm going to show you guys how to go from this to this within a month, and it's coming right up. If this is your first time here and you want to learn more about how to breed shrimp and care for them in general, then please start now by hitting that subscribe button and bell notifications so you don't miss anything. But let's go over the basics of why you might have algae in your tank in the first place, right? Because there's always a reason for it being there, right? So you've got to look at things like why does algae thrive in specific conditions. I'm just looking under here because I was going to pick this tank here today to do an algae removal. We're going to do a water change, etc. But I've just noticed this female here is releasing eggs, babies. You see her right under here? I'm not sure if she's just molted, so we might have to do a different tank. We'll probably pick this one here. Never do water changes if you see a female that's just had, you know, basically let go her babies, or she's just molted, because you will kill the shrimp. Right, so let's get back on topic. Look at the reasons why you might have algae in the tank, right? So could it possibly be a few things, right? We're going to look at light, for example. Is it too much light, right? Look at this light here. No, it's not too much light. And I know it's not too much light because I have the same light on other tanks, right? The same type of light system, double lights like this. And if you can see up here, right, you can see the substrate. The substrate here is much brighter here than it is down here, right? So it's not that there is too much light. The other thing you could look at as well is the water source. Could it possibly be excess nutrients from your water? Because that does happen. Some people that use tap water will have excess nutrients. And for me specifically, I know this isn't the cause because I use RO water and I add my own salts to it, right? So my water is very pure. Right? So we know it's not the light, we know it's not the water, we know it's not combination of the two, right? So what else could it be? Why would there be an excess of nutrients in this tank? Am I overfeeding the tanks? No, I'm not, because I feed these by the rule of feed for 2 hours and then remove any excess food, right? And I always try and put the food in the dish as well, and the food always is gone within 1 to 2 hours, right? So we know that I'm not overfeeding these tanks, right? So what else does that leave? Look at the tanks, guys. See if you can guess. Some of you might be able to guess already. Plants. Look at the plants. Now, what plants do we have in here predominantly? We have Sawasartang and we have Hornwort. And I have Sawasartang in all of my tanks. Right, you see it like this? Look at that tank. There's hardly any algae. There's a little bit on the sponge filter, but that is it. And it's the same in all my other tanks. You can see it here. Just a whole row of Sawasartang. There's no algae at all in that tank. That top one as well, tons of Sawasartang, very little algae. Right, so we know it's not the Sawasartang. And the reason I'm mentioning the plants, guys, is because it can be because of the plants that you have algae in the tank. You might have the wrong type of plant for your environment, basically, right? So let's go over what I think is wrong with this tank. I think it's the hornwort that is the issue in this tank, right? And I'm pretty sure of this because in other tanks that are slightly harder, that have a higher TDS, this plant thrives, right? In my tanks where I have my bee shrimp specifically, it does not thrive, right? Like these tanks, it's not like over competing all the duckweed, etc. That's what you'll notice as well. There's tons of duckweed, right? So there's an excess of something in here. Right, so these hornwort are not out competing the duckweed either. So the issue with them is, I think they're dying. Right, they're dying and leaving leaves, etc. on the bottom, and these are decomposing, and it's putting excess nutrients in the water. And I can kind of show you the same thing in a different tank as well that has the same issue. Hornwort in a soft water tank, like my zebra pinto tank over here. You see on the bottom? You saw my zebra pintos flying around. Right, you can see the algae. Look at the algae in the middle here. Just an absolute excess of algae. This one's not as bad as the other one, so this one will be easier to clean up. But I think this is what's happening as well. If you can see this, guys, more like at the back of the tank, you can see where the hornwort has died away and is struggling to grow. And so I'm pretty sure this is the issue. If we go over here, this is a funny one, and it kind of proves the point. If you look at the back over here, you can see the hornwort. You see it here? It's growing nice and thick, and there's nothing at all dead in here. And there's less algae, less of that type of string algae. We go to the tank next to it. Again, hornwort in the tank. At the back, there's parts over here that are like brown and dying. We have algae, you can see it here. See it? This filamentous algae. This tank here, there's no hornwort at all in here, but this is a harder water tank. Slightly harder, it's like 200 parts per million. No algae. Right, so you get the gist here. Let me just show you this one as well. Hornwort tank. This is on sand substrate. There's a little bit of algae here. But look how much this tank has exploded with thick green hornwort. Let me show you the top. See it? It's grown really, really well. Right, so the hornwort definitely likes harder water conditions. So now that I think we have identified the problem, let me show you more up here. You see it? All this beautiful algae. It's really thick in amongst the hornwort. But it's also dead at the back as well. You can see like dead spots in the hornwort, and there's like white algae as well. So all of this will decay, and it will make more algae. Right, so the job that we have to do today is remove the hornwort. And you can see how overgrown this tank already is, and how difficult this is going to be. Right, so the plan with this is to remove as much of this as I possibly can manually. I'm going to get my hand right in here. I'm going to grab whole clumps of hornwort, give it a little jiggle just to make sure there's no baby shrimp on it, and then we're going to manually remove as much of this stuff from the gravel as well. I mean, I'm moving it like this, and I can see like plumes of crap coming from the algae basically, right? So this is like getting filled with uneaten food. It's probably getting filled with, here you can see like there's little broken bits of hornwort here. As this decays, it will also lie on the top of the gravel. So this is what we have to do today. As I said, I'm probably going to do this tank first because I just saw that female had just molted there. Trust me guys, don't ever do a water change if you see a female that has just molted, because you will kill her for sure. So we're going to try this tank. Now the difference between these two tanks is this one has just as much algae in the back, you can see it here. Right, but there's like a ton more babies in this one. All through the back, up here you can see there's a little Taiwan bee in there. There's lots of like little really small babies in here, right? So I'm going to show you as well the process I have of basically what I do when I have to remove a lot of excess stuff like this from a tank. And I try and save as many babies as possible. And there's a little process I do, right? So you will see that as well. The other thing, guys, that you should notice when you're going to do this, right? We're obviously going to do a water change, because that will also help to get rid of some of the excess nutrients, right? But we will use that water change, the water from the water change, we will use that to store all this excess algae and stuff in, just for a little while, because this is going to be like our catchment basement, where we will see if there's any babies in the plants, right? So this is what I do. I put all this stuff into the water change bucket for at least a day or two, and every so often I'll come along and I'll just like look into the bucket, move the algae around gently, and I'll be able to see if there's babies in there, right? And I take them out and put them back in the tank. Okay, so that is what we have planned for today. Now this tank here is probably the worst, and it also has the issue of, here you can see babies, right? But there's also a lot of hornwort, and this is something I've needed to do for a while, because there is an absolute load of baby shrimp in here, and it's very, very hard for me to show you guys the amount of shrimp I have in here if you can't really see what's going on in the tank either. This will also help with the filtration at the back. It'll work a little bit better if there's less for it to deal with, basically. Alright, so enough talking, let's get on with the removal. This is going to be tough, but I assure you it's going to be worth it. So the very first thing I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to remove some water, right? And we're going to have 2 buckets for this. And the reasoning for this, guys, is because I want to have a bucket here for excess plants and algae. Will go into one bucket. And the other bucket in the beginning, right, we're going to house our sponge filters that are way at the back here. I want to clean them as well. We're going to gently put them in here just for like 5-10 minutes to make sure that there are no baby shrimp attached to them, right? And then we're going to do the water change properly. We'll clean the filters under the tap, because it is acceptable for you to clean sponge filters under the tap, right? There's not enough chemicals in tap water to kill off all the bacteria in your sponge filters. This is something I've learned from reading from Discus forums, and a couple of other people have said the same thing to me. There's not enough chemicals to do that, right? So it is a good idea for you to rinse them really well under the tap, right? So we're going to do that. We're going to get some water. I'm going to leave the filter on just until we get some water for the first batch, and then we'll get on with the rest of it. Alright, so let's get some water for our plants to go in. This is a filter that has stainless steel mesh on the inside that's 0.5 mil, right? So there's even baby shrimp can't get through this. Right, so I'm just going to use a siphon, and we're going to fill up this bucket with water. Now this bucket is for plants and the excess algae to go in, so you want a decent amount of water to go in here. I think we're going to do a 25% water change in this today, and it's also important, guys, that you make sure that the water that you are going to put back in here matches what's already in the tank, at least closely matches, specifically for stuff like the temperature and things like that. And then the next bucket over here is, I'm just going to stop the water, we're going to put in our sponges just to make sure that there is no baby shrimp on them. And I know you can't see, but I'll show you in a second. Okay, so our pump is off, right? We're also going to do the H2o treatment, which means I'm going to stick this little bit of sponge here into that power head, because when we fill this back up with water, I don't want the shrimp to go in it, right? So I'm going to just put the sponge in, we're going to take the 2 filters off, and then we can start to remove the plants. So here you can see I have the power head fitted with a little bit of sponge, and let's just see if we can find these sponges. Now, just looking at them at the back, I can already see that there's a lot of baby shrimp on them. So I'm just going to pull all this plant mass to the front as far as I can over this brick. This will make it easier for us to remove everything. Yeah, there's a lot of baby shrimp on there actually. There's way more shrimp in here than I thought there was. I can see the shrimp all down the side as well. So they're obviously all hanging out in here. You see them all? Once the tank is a bit cleaner, you will see these guys a bit better too, so it's worth doing this, right? So just take off the sponge. What I like to do, guys, is just give it a little bit of a spin. Wipe the ends with your fingers. See there, look, there's a baby shrimp hanging on there. Make sure that you duck it like this. Do it a few times, make sure you give the little shrimp a chance to get off. Alright, so this is where we put this sponge in here. If there's any baby shrimp on here at all, it gives you a second chance to catch them. Right, so we're going to do the same with this one. There was a baby shrimp on there as well. There's one here too. There's a lot of little baby shrimp in here. It's a really good sign. It's good to see, actually. You can see how long it's been since I've actually cleaned this filter, because it's like starting to get deformed and sucked in on itself. So this was definitely needing changed. Right, do your little dunk thing like this. And then go over to your container and plop in your sponge. Right, I like to, again, just gently rub your hand across every surface, because if there is baby shrimp in here, 9 times out of 10 they will jump off before you're going to touch them. Right, so just do it gently. Rub your hand on every surface, like so, right? And then just wait a second and see what happens. Now I'm looking in here and I can't see a single baby shrimp in here. There's nothing on the sponge I can see on the surface. So these guys are good enough for us to go over to the top up here and clean. Now time is of the essence here, right? Because on my filter that I have in the aquarium, it is now unprotected. The filter itself, there's nothing stopping any shrimp going into the filter, right? So it is a good idea here if you just get your finger at your butthole a wee bit. You guys will have heard me saying that before, like, oh, it's so gross. Right, and now clean your sponges. So the sponges have been cleaned, the back end, the filter is now protected again. And now they have the wonderful job of removing this mass of crap out of the tank. Now I can see a lot of baby shrimp in here actually. Way more than I thought was in here. Right, but we are going to be able to save them by putting them in this bucket. Right, so look at this. It's like a giant net of stuff. And I'm going to try and take out just like a handful at a time. Hopefully this will play ball. Look at that. This is just hornwort, absolutely choked full of weed, right? And it will go into our bucket like this. And you probably will see shrimp in here too. I'll just tease it apart like this, right? Because this stuff is like a net basically. Right, tease it apart. You can save these leaves, put them back in. See, there's a shrimp there, bigger female running around. Right, so this is what's going to happen, right? We're going to get as much of this out of the tank as possible. Keep all your banana leaves, all your almond leaves. Try and keep as much of the leaves as possible, and just get rid of this big chunk of massive crap basically. And it's going to be a lot of baby shrimp because I can see it in my finger here. There's lots and lots of them, way more than I thought was in here. So again, give it a gentle shake like this. With a bit of luck, most of the shrimp will jump off before you pull them out of the tank. Now this might make the front a little bit dirty because it's pulling up akadama too, I think. Come on, get off you bastard. I didn't say the swear words. And here again, just tease it apart. This will give your shrimp plenty of time to get off of this weed mass. And you can see how much is in here already. And then we're on to more or less the front. You see it? There's a big bit of lead in there as well. I must have used that to hold down this plant before. But it's the plant safe. It's the aquarium safe lead. So don't worry about that. I'm going to try and save all these oak leaves. Get rid of as much of the algae as possible. Oak leaves are awesome for shrimp. Get it all out. Right, and once we've taken care of most of this algae, guys, we will H2O the tank as well. Right, I want to get rid of all this stuff. If there's an excess of algae on the leaves, I'll take them in. I'll just replace the leaves. Right, but this is a good time as well for you to look at how many shrimp are in here. Oh my god, it's amazing. I didn't think there was so much. You just grab the leaves and pull most of them to the back. This will all get stirred up again. And it's something you're going to have to deal with. Right, is the excess. There's actually a ball of Sawasser under there that I didn't even know was there. Look how many shrimp are here in the front. And I have to move them, guys, because there is a mass of algae at the front here that I want to be removed for good. With a little bit of luck, this will work pretty well the first couple of times that we do this. We might have to do it twice. I think we might have to do the H2o treatment a couple of times just to get rid of any excess lingering algae, especially stuff that might be stuck in with the Sawasser tank here, right? So Sawasser tank is a great example of a plant that should be in a soft water environment because it works so well on all my other tanks. Any of you guys will have seen that as well. So let's get all this stuff here. Now there's some of it is like grown into the akadama. Look at all these babies in the end of my finger. It's amazing. I really didn't think there were so many babies in here. You see them all here. And this was the tank I thought didn't have as much shrimp in it. So this is going to be good for them. Get all this crap to the back. What I'm going to do with the stuff at the front here, guys, is I'm just going to pick it up with my hands like this because it will be filled. You see how I'm picking it up? We're sacrificing a little bit of the akadama to get rid of the weed. Look how many babies! Oh my god! Oh my god, right, so this tank is going to be really good once we get the all this stuff out here, and I can actually see the babies get off in amongst this stuff here as well. So there's probably a lot of them in that bucket. There's way more. There's way more. Can't say the words. Way more babies than I ever thought there was. Which is a good thing, right? So we still have some weed here. I probably won't get all this today because I just can't see what I'm doing. Try and get as much as you can. Oh, there's a lot here too. Try and get as much as you can. The more we get out and remove by hand, the better the tank will be. Alright, so what I'm also going to do, guys, is just quickly try and get some of this duckweed at the top here as well, because duckweed is just a pain in the butthole after a while. Once this is filled up a little bit more, we should be able to get a little bit more of the duckweed out. Right, and this brick is in here, by the way, guys, just to give the shrimp somewhere to go and hide, but it's also a baffle for the part mini filter because it's quite powerful. Alright, so look at that. Look how many baby shrimp are in there that I didn't know were in there. Alright, so we have our water going back in. Next is the H2o treatment, right, which is very easy to do. You take the size of your tank in litres, divide it by 10, and it will give you the dosage in milliliters of your H2O, right? So for us, this is a 50 litre tank, divided by 10, gives us 5 milliliters, right? So we want 5 milliliters of H2O. We're just going to quickly grab a little cup of water here first, because this is what I like to do. And then we're going to add our H2O into it, just give it a little stir. And then evenly spread it out, guys, across most of the tank, like so, right? And as your water's going in here as well, it will help spread it. And just give your tank a little stir, like this, just for like 10-15 seconds, to make sure you get all the H2O in every corner of the tank. So it has been more than an hour. I've switched the pump back on. You can just see there's a slight little bit of water flow. And I can see there's still some hornwort and stuff in here, so just get in there, pull it out. What's also very good for removing algae, guys, is a kebab skewer like this, right? And all you do is put it into the algae mass and twist, then it will take off. You see it there? I don't know how good it's going to come out in this camera, but it will take off swaths of algae like that, right? And you just plop it into your bucket and try and get as much as you can of the tank, right? Some of it might be hard, it might not just come off because the algae might be too short, but persevere. This is like the best way to remove algae, is manually, I think. H2O and manually remove as much as you can seems to get the best results. Like here as well, you can see it's like all intertwined in with this little ball of Sawasser. There's some in the gravel there, right? So I will continue to remove as much of this as I can until it is algae free. As algae free as possible, right? So that, because the H2O as well will help to remove a lot of this stuff. Okay, so I would say that's more than 90% of the visible algae removed. So there's a little bit here as well. I don't know how much more I'm going to be able to get off structures and stuff because it's like so small, it's not really visible. But I'm quite happy with that. Compared to what it looked like before, compared to what it looks like now, is quite amazing. There's a bazillion, way more shrimp in here than I ever thought there was. What I'll do, guys, is once this tank is settled and it's cleared, I'll take a picture of it, and that will be the thumbnail as well. We could do a before on one side and after on another side. And we'll see what happens, right? So I was looking at this, guys, and I was thinking, you know, it just doesn't look very nice, you know? I was thinking, why don't we try and make it more like the tanks above me? Look how nice this looks with the like bazillion litres of Sawasser tang I have in that tank, right? So why don't we do the same here, right? So I've taken some Sawasser tang out of the top tank, and we are going to take that brick out of there, and we're going to change the orientation of it in the tank, right? And we're going to tie Sawasser tang to the top of it, right? So let's just get this brick, try and remove as much of the wee shrooms as possible. There's going to be lots of them stuck to it, I can just tell. I can already see them in the back. Right, so this is just a case of turning it making sure you flush out the brick because there's little holes here. The shrimp will stick to it. I just have a little look inside. I don't think there's anything on it now. They can take the hint. Get off, get off. Right, so we now have our brick. Pick the best look inside. I wanted to keep this, guys, because I think the shrimp like to go into it. Right, so we have some thread here, lots and lots of thread. I've stolen from the wife from her sewing machine. And I'm going to do this as simply as possible, guys, right? I'm going to go, let me see, basically need just a basic knot. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to put that through there. So let's just do it like a cinched knot. Because I don't want this to show at all on the front. Let me see, will it go this way? Yes. Right, because this is the way the Sawasa tang is going to lie on top of this brick, right? So you're not really going to see anything of nuts and all that stuff, right? So I'm just going to drop this roll on the floor, give me as much of this stuff as possible. And I've taken generous portions of Sawasa tang out of this tank up there, and this is what we're going to add, right? And I've put a lot on, right, because I think the best way to deal with algae in a shrimp tank is by putting more plants on that are thriving, right? So if you have plants that are already doing well in certain conditions, then why not add more of them? Alright, so Sawasa tang does well for me in tanks with akadama, soft war, with bee shrimp, right? So you can already see where this is going. I just have to now try and tie it, and it doesn't take much. It won't take much, right? So I'm tying Sawasa tang to a brick. It's only probably going to take about 3 or 4 turns, and then I have to try and find a way of securing it, right? So let's just try that. I'm going to break off the thread. I'm going to try again and go through one of these holes if I can, but my fingers are probably too thick to go through this. So, oh, you know what I have here? Let's try a set of tweezers that I can put through. See, if I use my brain, I'm smart when I want to be, guys. See, we have kind of like a loop here now, right? So we can go, let me see, the basic overhand knot, I think, a couple of times to make it tight. Will that work? Yes, it does. It does work. Now, you might not even see this on camera. My apologies, but you're not missing much. It's basically just a little knot that we're going to double over a few times and pull tight, right? Like so. Overhand knot a few times, the same way if you're doing shoelaces, and just pull it tight, guys. You see it? I'm pulling it tight. And this is just to hold this in place until it starts to grow nice. Now, I'm aware that when I put this back in, that there's going to be a lot of shrimp hanging around, but I've just moved that brick from, right? So the goal with this is to put it back in and give the shrimp a chance to get out of the way, right? So the way we're going to do it, right, is you imagine if my hand is a brick, we're going to put it in at an angle like this. We're just going to gently scrape the bottom like this, so far, and then put the brick down. You think that'll work, guys? Because you're looking at this tank as well, there's actually another mound of Sawasa tang at the back I didn't know was there either. But this will make the tank look infinitely better, I think, right? So let's get it in. Let's get it in. Right, we're going to go, as I said, angle the brick past that ball of Sawasa tang. And if this creates like a little cave underneath, that's fine too. And then just place it down like so. Isn't that cool? Right, we probably don't need this part of the front anymore, but I'll just keep it in there in the meantime because there's probably baby shrimp in there too. There's lots and lots of baby shrimp here. I'm just going to clean out this bowl. Again, you see the way I'm putting stuff down, guys, is I never put it down so it's like instantly flat. Put it down so there's like, you're giving the shrimp a chance to move it the way, more or less. This white little fella there. So the original footage that you saw at the start of this video was filmed more than 6 weeks ago. And I thought I'd just film this extra part to add on to the end so you guys can see that if you stay on top of your maintenance and you remove what was causing the algae in the first place. You can stay algae free. Now I've done it with this tank, and this tank, and I've also went over and done it in these 2 tanks here, and that middle one. And I have been string algae free for over a month, right? So it's important that you find the cause and you remove it.